Good evening, and welcome to Political Recap number 1. Before we get to the news, I'd like to apologize for any mispronunciations of names, whether of people or places. I'm particular user wrote a letter discussing how their dyslexia, which is set off by pictures, blur, bolded and italicized text, and anything that is more interesting to their brain than plain text, are all prohibitions from using the new format. It's a monstrosity of random images, distracting colors, bolded names, and all sorts of unnecessary additions that distract them from the actual content. Thousands of users flocked to Tumblr for its format, including people who were relieved to finally find a social media site that they could use. This new format has alienated those people. But not all hope is lost. Someone stepped in the XKids guy's place and created a patch, and a group of users have gathered a list of replacements, including soup.io, typepad, and Jux. Hopefully, Tumblr will abandon this new layout, and a mass exodus will not be necessary, but we won't give them the satisfaction of driving us off this site. We'll leave first. In addition, Tumblr users with side blocks, you might not want to delete them for a while. This new code is filled with bad spots, and one of the problems is that deleting a side blog can delete your main blog too, and all your other side blogs. Just be careful. Our second story is a much more pressing, urgent one. On August 30th, a blogger made a post about a kidnapping. I'm not sure when the kidnapping itself took place, but I have the details. A 3-year-old girl was picked up by a man driving a gray car with a license plate from Quebec. The number was 72B381. If anyone has any info, please contact your local law enforcement agency at once. Not everything is cause for despair, though. After 15 years of attempting to do so, India has finally beaten tetanus. On August 31st, there was an announcement that the nation has practically eradicated tetanus as a killer of mothers and newborns. It's a fatal disease, if not treated promptly, and just 15 years ago, approximately 800,000 newborns died of it every year. Now, that's less than 50,000 people worldwide. The disease is still present in India, and always will be, since it's all about the spores found in the ground. But now, it's present in about one birth for every 1,000 healthy ones, which the World Health Organization considers grounds for elimination as a public health problem. This was achieved through a few different avenues. Millions of women received vaccines and campaigns, which also protected their babies for a week. Women who gave birth at home were given kits with antiseptic soap, a clean synthetic sheet, and a disinfected blade and synthetic clamps for cutting and fastening the umbilical cord, preventing the use of dirty tools. Finally, they paid women up to $21 to give birth in a hospital or clinic. Sure, there are still tetanus cases, but it's no longer a public health crisis among the 1.25 billion people, and that's very good news. If this were a TV show, there'd be an ad here. So let me take this time to say, like this video, comment on it, and feel free to subscribe. Welcome back to the news. On the home front, the US, the reason for Donald Trump's wealth has been revealed. He's worth $3 billion, more or less, and his campaign is based on the fact that he used good business skills to earn that money. As such, he'd run our nation like a business, and we'd be successful. But the argument only works if he earned his money. So, did he? Well, he did take the reins of Trump Organization, but if he had just invested his share of his father's real estate company into stocks in the 70s, he'd be just as rich as he is now. He had so much of his wealth because he was born into it. When Trump took over from his father, Fred, the company was worth $200 million, and its expansion has not been as impressive as he makes it seem. Trump claims that he's worth over $10 billion, while Bloomberg estimates $2.9 billion, and Forbes says $4 billion. Other estimates drawn from legal proceedings and not too distant past journalistic investigations put him at much less than even $1 billion. Even $1 billion. As if $1 billion is not a ludicrous amount of money. That being said, if his fortune is in between 2.9 and 4 billion, he hasn't done much better than the market. If he has invested the $200 million he had in 1982 into an index fund, it would have given him a yield of more than $8 billion by now. So, A, he's not as rich as he claims, and B, even if he is as rich as he claims, it's actually not as impressive as it might sound. And even if matching the market was impressive, he didn't do it by himself. He would not have been this successful if he was not raised rich and given a successful company. Perhaps his greatest strength as a candidate is his phenomenal marketing skills and his showman tendencies. Turning back to international news, a video called How to Get Perfect Red Lips was released this week. Masquerading as merely a step-by-step tutorial on how to apply long-lasting lipstick, it's a cry to stop acid attacks. Reshma, the star of the video, is an acid attack victim, and she asks people to work towards the ban of openly selling acid. It can be accessed in the markets. Reshma is partnering with Make Love Not Scars, a group based in Delhi that fights to raise awareness and end acid attacks and all gender-based violence. About 1,500 acid attack cases are reported worldwide each year. In India, despite a ban on over-the-counter sales of acid, reports of such attacks are on the rise. The ban is ignored. DNA India reports that acid is being sold openly by the vendors on roads and by going door to door, with the vendors even using a loudspeaker to woo people to buy acid. Probably not intended to reach stuffy lawmakers, the video is destined to reach those of us who are woefully uneducated about this topic. Not only is the message easily understood, it's made real. The sufferers are real women with real voices and passions, and real skills, including those of makeup artistry. In more grassroots movements, Patrick Ness started a fundraiser yesterday morning on virginmoneygiving.com to donate money to Save the Children. Save the Children is a charity that works to help children in dangerous situations. They're helping those in the paths of civil wars, such as the one in Syria, and those who are fleeing the danger and trying to get into Europe, such as those involved in the horror of trying to get into Hungary. He pledged to match donations up to £10,000, or $15,169.50. Once that goal was met, in under 2 hours, John Green jumped on board to match the next 10,000. They raised over £15,000 from donations in under 4 hours, and Derek Landy pledged the next 10,000. Jojo Moyes pledged the next £10,000 for 4,000 in total pledges. Hank Green became the first pledger who was not yet a published young adult author, and he agreed to match the next 10,000. Rainbow Rowell rallied around Brendan Reichs, Allie Carter, Margaret Stoll, Jenny Hahn, Shannon Hale, Sarabhan Vivian, Rochelle Mead, Gail Foreman, Ransom Riggs, Allison Noel, Holly Black, and Tahira Nafi, who together pledged the next 10,000, making £60,000 in pledges. Margaret Stoll contributed again, along with Melissa de la Cruz, Sabah Tahir, Lee Bardugo, Lauren DeStefano, Poseidon Bosch, David Levithan, Libba Bray, Lauren Olivier, Jacqueline Woodson, or is it Jacqueline Woodson, Alexandra Bracken, I.W. Gregorio, Stacy Lee, Rachel Kahn, and Maureen Johnson. Together, they took over the next 10,000. In addition, Maureen promised, and has made good on the promise, to give a nickname to everyone who donated and told her so. Rosamond Lupton, David Nichols, Louisa Young, and Anderson Press pledged £45,000 among themselves. And Marion Caius and Francesca Simon each pledged 10,000. Louisa Young said she would bump the total up from £195,000 to £200,000, and Virgin Giving stated that if the donations exceeded £250,000, they would waive all fees. So, £125,000 were pledged, and every single one was matched, meaning that more than £250,000 were donated. As such, the fees were waived. In addition, Jill Mansell, Anita Anat, and Jessie Burton each pledged £10,000, making the total pledged as of the most recent update £145,000. All of this has been done in 36 hours. The current total, including the gift aid used to cover any fees, is £354,253.76, or $537,385.24, with 4,563 donors at the time of writing and shooting. All of this fundraising has been online. This is a striking image of what power the internet contains. You can still donate, too. The fundraiser is still going strong. In much less comforting news, there have been 39 school shootings this year alone, including one from today. This includes 14 colleges and, disturbingly, 25 grade schools. 7 of them were fatal for at least one victim, and 7 of them resulted in the death of the shooter. The most sobering thought is that we're just over halfway through the calendar year, and we're already over the total from 2013, and 22 away from the 2014 total. I have no doubt that we'll surpass that total, and that's absolutely terrifying. What if it's one of my friend's schools? Or what if it's mine? There would be another television ad break, so like, comment, and subscribe. Use the hashtags, #AskAzaria or #JamSession to get your questions answered on a Just Asking Monday, or just message me on Twitter and Tumblr, both of which are in the description. Our next 4 stories all have the same theme: racism, specifically anti-blackness. The first story is this. David Beckham, the famous soccer player, was photographed using a hoverboard at LAX airport. His biggest problems were potential security risks from being a celebrity. Yet Wiz Khalifa was brutally thrown down to the ground and arrested by 7 officers for the same activity, just for using a hoverboard. Now, this might not seem significant, but it proves that nobody is safe from racism. Class does not protect black people. Celebrity does not protect black people. And I am so frustrated that us white people are stripping black people and other people of color of everything except their race, and then condemning them for it. And I am so disappointed in myself for not doing more to change it. I'm sorry. In the same vein of celebrity culture, Taylor Swift released the music video for Wildest Dreams this past Sunday. The video, shot in Arizona and Africa, as if Africa was a single country and culture, but I couldn't find what countries specifically, is about Taylor's character making a movie. Excluding a handful of extras, every cast member is white. In addition, she's dressed in a colonial-era garb. In 2015, Taylor Swift is romanticizing colonialism in Africa. She's contributing to a long history, including Louis Vuitton's 2014 campaign, Snows of Kilimanjaro by Ernest Hemingway, Lawrence of Arabia, and Out of Africa by Karen Blixen. She should definitely know better. Because colonialism wasn't that romantic image. It was exploitive, brutal, and disgusting. It was abusive and murderous. Its effects are still felt today, resulting in poor economic performance, weak property rights, and tribal tensions across the continent, among other issues. That being said, Africa is becoming wealthier and wealthier as a whole. Wildest Dreams is a summation of the dismissal of Africa. Binyavanga Wainaina, a Kenyan author, wrote the following in Granta magazine in an essay called How to Write About Africa. In your text, treat Africa as if it were one country. It's hot and dusty, with rolling grasslands and huge herds of animals and tall, thin people who are starving. Or it is hot and steamy with very short people who eat primates. Don't get bogged down with precise descriptions. Africa is big. 54 countries, 900 million people who are too busy starving and dying and warring and immigrating to read your book. The continent is full of deserts, jungles, highlands, savannas, and many other things, but your reader doesn't care about that, so keep your descriptions romantic and evocative and unpractical. Unparticular, not unpractical. Taylor contributes to this generalizing and dismissal of Africa. After all, if its citizens are busy killing each other, they're not the right people to work in her video or to watch it and be represented in it. This points to the larger problem. Americans don't know about African history. We never get those lessons. So while Taylor must be held accountable, a director and those in charge of the video are to blame too. Many Africans whose parents lived through colonialism, and in some cases are still living through it, face this sort of nostalgia prompted by us privileged white people for colonial Africa, at least awkwardly in confusion, and at most is completely offensive. Alison Swank, when reviewing Out of Africa's movie, got it right. The nostalgia Karen creates for a time when an elegant, strong white woman could run a farm in Africa covers up the ugliness of that colonial idea. It undermines key colonial truths, like the fact that her strength or privilege relies on the colonial order. Africa is in the middle of a boom and a renaissance of leadership and technology, and it's led by the children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of those who are colonized, enslaved, abused, and sometimes murdered. The landscape is not a full picture of the continent. The only possible upside to this whole situation is that she is donating the proceeds from the video to the African Parks Foundation of America. There's something ironic about her giving money to the rangers and guides of these parks, who are primarily Black Africans, but not respecting them. But at least her contribution could be leading to more job creation. While not excusable, at least there's a silver lining. As if celebrity news story wasn't enough, Miley Cyrus is facing new drama. At the VMAs, she got slammed by Nicki Minaj, and everybody laughed. But, while it was funny, it was incredibly risky. Nicki called a white woman out for her patronization and racism. Miley, a white woman, tried to silence her and belittle a black woman's pain simply because she didn't like the manner of its presentation, and then dismiss the pain because she was too angry over it. Miley was condescending and way out of line, telling a black woman how to deal with something like that because she's white. She will never experience. And Nicki, frustrated by all the racism she faces, finally snapped in front of everyone. And the racist industry will make her suffer for it. She won't get as many invitations or appearances, will face even more criticism and less recognition, and will be irrevocably tied to the angry black woman stereotype. Nobody will question why she was angry. Nicki will be portrayed as the bad guy, and Miley will be the little white heroine/victim, even though Nicki was defending herself and all black women in entertainment against ignorance and racism. The moment was obviously hilarious, but that humor masks the fear that Nicki must have felt. She demonstrated incredible courage as she defied her social role. She was supposed to be abused and suffer silently, and she refused. So support her as much as you can. We all know that the industry won't. The last story of this set took place on the 2nd. A judge finally decided that each police officer involved in the arrest and death of Freddie Gray should be all tried separately, but that marked the official first day of the court hearing. And the protesters were present, as expected. The faithful prophets of our time appeared, and they did their job, chanting, "Tell the truth and stop the lies. Freddie Gray didn't have to die," and "Books not bombs, schools not jails." But there was one arrest made that day, around 9:15 in the morning. The protesters marched to the inner harbor, where there was a group of uniformed officers, and Darius Rosenbrough, 21, known as the hip-hop artist Kwame Rose, was there. He was struck by a car and then arrested, after being struck by a car. And the officers claimed that he was faking the accident. The police commissioner, Kevin Davis, said that the world, certainly the nation, saw the Baltimore Police Department at its best, which makes me absolutely terrified for it at its worst. The officers were assisted by others from the Maryland State Police and Anne Arundel, Prince George's, and Montgomery counties, because they could not handle between 50 and 75 peaceful protesters. They were required to stay on the sidewalk. And then Darius didn't, and he got hit by a car, according to witnesses. But other sources say he wasn't. The general consensus, though, is that an officer held the taser to his back while he was arrested. The police are the only ones denying the tasing. Darius was allowed to go to a hospital and then was released, but he was handcuffed without any medical attention. Hours after the hearing, about 100 people gathered outside the courthouse for another rally. Some were there from the morning, and others were there for West Wednesday, a support movement for Tyrone West, another victim of police brutality who died in custody. Tawanda Jones, Tyrone's sister, knows that as soon as the officers are held accountable, it'll be peace. The unrest will be gone. That's it. She and the rest of Tyrone's family have protested weekly since he died in 2013. The protests will continue on streets when those involved will try to get the case moved out of Baltimore County and into Baltimore City. Here's hoping everyone can stay safe. Our final story of the week is unfortunately not very fleshed out. Brazil has been fighting the same battle of the black/poor people versus cops for years on end. Recently, a massacre took place in Osaka, Sao Paulo, a poor region where most residents are black. This is an international problem that can only be solved by raising awareness and taking action. I know I'll be doing more research, and I hope you will be too. I'm Azaria for Political Recap here on Azarias Space, and I hope you have a great